Today on the bench, we have a bunch of stuff that's just come in, but some of this stuff really is going to need its own videos. So let's focus on a subset and take a little closer look. This one I have intentionally not opened because I don't want to get too distracted by it while I finished up some other things. It's going to take some assembly, some wiring, some programming, and to test the assembly of that, I'm going to need some measurement tools. When I built the robotic arm here, the only measurement tool I really used were the tools that I used included a basic tape measure, a small metal rule marked in millimeters, and a basic, very basic, cheap set of calipers that I could set as inches or millimeters. And it got me by, but I really needed some better tools. And among those, I could have really used something that I got recently and have been testing out. That is this dial indicator. Well, no dial on this one. It is digital. And what this is a very simple mechanism that's very precise that measures how far this is displaced from whatever your zero setting is. And it can measure it in millimeters, hundredths of a millimeter, or inches, as in down to thousandths of an inch. Actually, half a thou. But it's certainly more than I need, and would have been a lot better than trying to do everything with a set of calipers. Now, this is all well and good, you know, neat little indicator, but it needs to have a firm mounting. And so that's where this comes in. It's a nice articulating arm. It's very easy to adjust to whatever position you need it to be in. But one of the neat things about this is that when you get it into a position that you like, all you do is turn the one knob, and now it's locked in place. See that? Even this, all locked in place, very tight. Then you would put your indicator in, lock it in position, and then begin taking measurements. But the way this is designed is this is intended to, in this case, this particular mount is designed to go on like a machine, like a giant steel milling machine or lathe, something like that, as it has a magnetic base. Here's a piece of steel, and as you can see, it's not locked. It's not sticking, but we can engage the magnet by turning the lever, and now the magnet is well and truly stuck to the steel. And a heavier piece of steel would stick even better than this thin stuff. But that is a dial indicator and locked down to a piece of steel, and then you would run your in my case, the carriage for that robotic arm or whatever under here, and I could see the run out, how much it went up and down along the way, and try and start to get it dialed in a little more precisely and work a little more smoothly. So that's what a dial indicator does. I like that tool enough that I picked up a few more. These were all by a company called, if I can get it to focus, come on, Clockwise. A fairly cheap, we'll call it, purveyor of tools. None of these are very expensive, but I'll include links below. But they're good enough for the home gamer who doesn't have a real machine shop, I think. So the next one would be a similar dial indicator, but in this case, it truly is a dial. If I can get it to focus. And the mechanical dial is very easy to see when there's a slight change. Just the slightest change causes the needle to move, and it's easier to pick up on that for me than watching digits flashing around. And if it's just moving a little bit, say in here, it's very easy to see that it's moving, 20 thousandths or 5 thousandths of run out versus watching the digits change. Now it's a little harder to read in some ways because there are two dials. The first dial is this larger one, but that only reads one turn is 100 thousandths, I believe. Yeah. And then you have to watch the smaller inner dial rotate to get the tenths of an inch, or as it goes up. So just a little harder to read, and it doesn't have the digital interface that would be very handy in some cases. Some additional items. This one's a little more unique. This is a dial. It's called a dial test indicator. And this one's a little delicate. I haven't actually taken it out of the package yet because it is that delicate. It is another, similar to the other mechanical analog. Let's get this clear and let's see if we can get a good focus on it because it is so small and precise. This measures the deflection of this tiny little lever here. So anything that touches it just the slightest bit causes it to move, and it can move and it can deflect in different directions. So somebody can press down on it and deflect it, or press up. And a deflection in any direction gets measured. We have to be very careful. This is like a 6 or 7 joule movement in order to get that precision. These are similar to the other caliper in that it has, the other dial indicator, in that it can mount in a jig. In this case, it's pretty precise, and it has to go on this little dovetail. If I've got it on the right direction here. Yeah, there we go. This little tiny dovetail locks it on, and then this gets clamped in the jig so that you can get your measurement. But in any case, that is a dial test indicator from Clockwise, and I plan to also be using this in these measurement tests that I have coming up for that other little project. The next is nothing really unusual. It's just a little bit different, certainly in the way it looks. And it is a digital caliper from Clockwise. And as you can see, I have not opened it yet. Been waiting to. But it has large digits. And it has a battery in it already, but nice big digits. And one of the really interesting things about this is that instead of, say, 2.28, you can get it in fractions of an inch, which can really make it a lot easier when I'm trying to find the appropriate drill size for some hole I need to drill out. And of course, it does millimeters as well. So a nicely made, at least compared to the junky one I've had in the ones I've used in the past, dial indicator caliper. And we'll see if these hold up, as I've had to make lots and lots of measurements with these. And if you just tap it, that'll reset it to 0 on this one. You have to hold it to turn it off. Now, I have used these to make tons of measurements, and one of these things these calipers often have is a digital interface. So we can see that. All right, there it is. A small set of 4 contacts, and you can get data out showing the current reading on this. But I never had any software to do that, and I didn't have a cable hooked up, and I didn't want to build it and fuss around with that, because I often don't need that, just once in a while. Well, one of the things this has also is a digital interface. In fact, this also has a little digital connection on it. Well, looking forward to trying those out, because what I was able to get is a small data interface unit. Well, I don't know if I have all the necessary cables and everything for this, but I'm going to try that out too. Apparently this will just act as a keyboard, and you can get your data loaded into like Excel very easily. So I'll be trying that out. But there are times when I've needed to make 24 measurements of different parts and try to make sure that everything is the same, or look at the deviation across them. And so that'll be handy, I hope. So I'll have to try that out, and we'll take a look at the software. But in any case, that is a look at some new calipers that I'm really looking forward to trying out, and some test measurement equipment that we'll need to try out what's in here. That's coming up soon.